We're talking everything film and television, and today we are talking about the Netflix series called Finding the Zodiac.
Not even close. Not even close.
Did not know.
I was watching it there in the corner of my eye. I was like, he forgot the title. He's running with it.
Searching for the Zodiac.
No.
Hunting the Zodiac.
No.
The Zodiac Killer.
No. This is the Zodiac speaking.
Oh. This is the Zodiac speaking.
No.
Can you fix it a post?
3.8 out of 5.
Whoa, no.
That just doesn't work for us.
Sound, speeding, camera, rolling. Scene 94. Take 303. Mark.
No half stars on take 303. No half stars on take 303. Alright, okay. No half stars on take 303.
Welcome to Take 303, powered by Fort Wayne Media, the podcast with a guy who knows a lot about film.
And his friend.
I'm Nick Molinari.
JP Brooks. We're talking everything film and television. And today we are talking about This is the Zodiac speaking.
Just had to rush through that so you could get to that title.
That is true. This is the Zodiac speaking.
But first, in cinematic news. So early reviews of Nosferatu are coming out. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's so many movies to see, and
I know, and you're on a streak. Still on a streak, I would say. I don't know if I want to count the chickens too early, but they're labeling it one of the best movies of 2024. I've seen a lot of lists in the last couple of weeks of what are the best movies of 2024, and actually the year kind of flew by after like September.
Yeah.
I mean it's only 2 months, but yeah, now is the Oscar season. So now all the good movies are like just pouring out just out of nowhere. They're just coming out of the woodworks. And we're approaching Oscar season.
The best of all the holiday seasons.
Yes. This will be our second annual Oscars, and we have to start thinking about what movies have been like standing out to us. And just as a preview, I saw My Old Ass, the Aubrey Plaza movie that came out a few months ago. It just dropped on Amazon. I will say we missed a solid one.
Did we?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely different from the trailer. The trailer completely
because the trailer looked pretty poo-poo.
Yeah. It looks like a generic comedy, raunchy kind of thing. Tell me how I cried for 30 minutes during it. It was actually a serious drama.
Okay, I was listening to it on the radio, and they had the director-writer on, and she said, yeah, and like the way she was interviewing, she took it very seriously. I'm like, are you taking like what is supposed to be a comedy way too seriously? But I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it wasn't, and I don't want to spoil too much for you. I think it's definitely deserving of a watch, and when we get to like underrated movies of the year, I think that's definitely going to be one of my tops. But let me tell you this, Aubrey Plaza is on the poster. She is the top billing. She's in the movie for maybe 10 minutes.
Smart. Well done.
Tom Cruise announced who he would like to carry on the Mission Impossible franchise if and when he leaves. Who do you think he picked?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
No.
Tom Holland.
You're getting dangerously close.
Don't tell me he picked the fucking loser from Dune. Chalamet.
No,
you better not. Dangerously close? Tom Holland?
Remember, Tom Holland is tiny. And Timothée Chalamet is also tiny. Yeah, I think somebody that's built, somebody that looks the Tom Cruise part, somebody in a movie that...
wait, the Twisters guy.
Yeah, there you go. Glenn Powell.
Fuck yeah.
We will be talking more about This is the Zodiac speaking after the break.
Everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. Something that needs to be captured on the big screen. We at Fort Wayne Media love taking your passion projects and bringing them to life. Whether you're a passionate artist or a small business owner, with expert videography and photography, we're going to take what you love to do, what you love to make, and transform it into a cinematic experience. Fort Wayne Media.
And we're back, and we're talking This is the Zodiac speaking, directed by Phil Lott and Ari Mark.
This is the Zodiac speaking is a documentary from a different perspective of the infamous Zodiac killer case. It takes interviews with a group of children, now adults, recalling their time spent with the number one suspect of the Zodiac killer case, Arthur Lee Allen. We watch as they go through their family history, vacations, and even spend a significant amount of time with this man, and we watch and you all will discover whether or not this man is in fact the Zodiac Killer. And that is it.
So he did it, right?
Maybe.
Tiny bit of a lore dump, because there's so much that you can say about this case, because this is arguably the most famous cold case in American history, possibly world history, of like serial killers, murderers. And I've definitely been intrigued by this case for a long time. And Liz and I were talking about this yesterday, because I was telling her about this, and she is very interested in the case too. So immediately we put it on, and I watched it a second time. And I told her, I was like, yeah, Zodiac is a perfect movie. And she's like, perfect is a strong word. I was like, don't even come for David Fincher. Like, it is a perfect movie for many reasons. And my only bad thing I can say about Zodiac, the movie, the only thing I hate about it is that they don't tell us who it is, because no one knows who the Zodiac Killer is. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is a huge thing in the 60s and 70s. Somewhere between 7 to 30 people were killed by the Zodiac. To this day, no one knows who it is. There were over 2,500 suspects. Arthur Lee Allen is one of the major suspects, that the name was the first one publicized and the one that is widely publicized. But again, another reason why we should have had Eddie on the show, if you go on Reddit, no one on Reddit thinks it's Arthur Lee Allen.
What?
Yeah.
All circumstantial, right?
All circumstantial. Because there's a whole thing about how he doesn't look like the sketch, and there's a list of other suspects who they all think are more likely than Arthur Lee Allen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear what Eddie actually thinks.
Eddie said he is so tired of Zodiac, but I told him, I was like, this is honestly worth your watch, because there are so many TV shows, books, movies about the Zodiac Killer. This is the first one where I started seeing more new information coming out, and they actually still leave you on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, waiting for some result.
For even more.
Well,
yeah.
Don't want to spoil too much, but for those of you, really easy case, in California, people start getting murdered, particularly couples, and the person who claims these kills begins sending in letters, but it's all, what do you call that? Coded?
They're in ciphers.
Yeah, they're in ciphers. The police try to crack it, and there are just so many, particularly focused on Arthur Lee Allen, so many weird coincidences with this guy, so many close calls, almost caught the killer, etc., so many things that line up, and it's a very interesting case. I would say Zodiac Killer, what makes it so just complete insanity, is probably the most famous serial killer of all time is Jack the Ripper. I don't think anybody beats him. But I think what makes the Zodiac Killer even, like, puts him above, if you're going to make an argument, is for the time period that he's doing it in, with all the technology they had and just sort of the way the world is. Jack the Ripper got away with a lot, people will say, because of technology limitations. The fact that they have this much evidence on someone and they still can't bring him in, insanity.
It's crazy, because even after watching my first watch of This Is the Zodiac, the documentary, I immediately popped in Dirty Harry right after it. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
It's referenced very quickly in the Zodiac the movie. There's a scene where they go to the movie theater and there's this movie playing. That's Dirty Harry. It came out right at the time of the Zodiac murders in real life, and they had a killer called the Scorpio Killer. This was my first introduction to the Zodiac idea. I saw that movie, then I saw Zodiac. And without exhausting you guys at home, if you're interested in the story or anything, definitely watch the David Fincher movie. It is saturated with facts. There's actually an interesting thing I didn't know about this movie. On IMDb, that's where I found it. It said that David Fincher refused to cut any scenes or dialogue from the script that they had written, because they researched the movie for a good amount of time. He told the actors to talk fast, so that way they wouldn't have to cut time. And that's why Jake Gyllenhaal is like with the lines.
There you go.
But yeah, so that movie, I think, has so much information about Zodiac the Killer, and that would be like a great start and introduction to this documentary. Documentary wise, I think it's a very good documentary, very informative. I think it starts off slow and gets progressively better.
And they leave you on enough of a cliffhanger in episode 1 to make you want to watch episode 2, which they do a good job. But yes, it is very slow to start. But once episode 2, once they start unraveling, episode 2 is the best episode.
Yeah.
Because it just complete insanity. And have you ever heard of these children who are now adults?
Never heard of it. That's why, well, first of all, when I saw This is Zodiac Speaking just pop up on Netflix, I was like, I was like, I'm going to watch this at some point. And then when I brought it up to you when we were kind of in a pinch, you were like, I already watched it. I was like, well, now I got to see it immediately. I want to learn more about this. And I never heard about these children. Now adults, they're all in like their 70s. And it's crazy how many coincidences and how the stories lined up. When I watched episode 1, I really wasn't into it because episode 1 is a rehash of just the general story with a little bit of theirs mixed in, but 2 is where they really collide.
And I figured this is for the younger audience who have never heard of the Zodiac Killer, never saw the movie. So you need that first episode.
Because there's even like direct, like when they do the recreation scenes, they look like scenes from Zodiac. And I'm like, oh, this is that scene and this is that scene.
I find testimonies of these kids talking about the number one suspect in the case fascinating. Every time I read or watch something again from the Zodiac, the audacity on this guy to do what he's done.
You definitely at some point have to watch a horror movie with Liz. She's yelling at the screen, she's talking about it, and during this she was like, pause that for a second. I pause it. She's like, he did it. He definitely did it. Like, there's no way. He's like, how did they not get this guy? He did it. It's all right there in the documentary. I was like, you solved the case. Like, no, but it's crazy how circumstantial it is, and that was a big thing in Dirty Harry. That was a big thing in Zodiac the movie, obviously, because they're pulling from the real life instances. But he has a watch. I looked this up because again, every time I watch something on the Zodiac, I got a deep dive. And what I couldn't believe, I don't think I remembered the watch thing vividly, but Zodiac, the company of watches, still exists, still has the same logo. I was like, you would have thought they would have changed it by now.
No such thing as bad publicity.
he's teaching the kids in in this documentary. They were like his students, and some of them were neighborhood kids. But he taught them how to do ciphers in class. He had the same kind of boots. He had the same diving kind of outfit that the guy was wearing.
Was in the places at the same time of the event.
The exact same day. He was at every single murder scene. But no, circumstances.
I mean, it's so sad because technically it is circumstantial.
Yeah. Like, he's there, but he doesn't have any prints. He doesn't have no. But my thing was like, I was like, it is so 1960 when some of these things happen, because you have a guy that's pulled over on a highway. He has a bloody knife in the passenger seat, and the cop is like, "What's up with that bloody knife?" Like, he says it out loud, and the guy is like, "Oh, I used it to kill a chicken." And he's like, "All right, have a good day." I was like, that's so 1960. You can't do that today.
Hearing some of these stories, like you said, hearing the kids talk back stories, different time, different place. Really, and I feel like they really do a good job of pulling you to the time period too. Really get back in the mindset of what it's like to be. As much as I love the movie, I really like this as a documentary.
I do like this as a documentary. I think I have problems with documentaries. Like, for me, like, they really have to be interesting. Like, I really have to like love the subject in general, like before the movie, in order to really go with it. And if you asked me a couple days ago, I would have said Am I Racist is clearly the best documentary of the year.
Of all time.
Not even close.
Not even close.
But now I was like, now there's competition. You know, hearing all the new information, but also seeing how it tied in with the actual story. That's why I think episode 1 is on the weaker side, because there's not too much tie-in. It's all about just giving you the basis of the story, which we know, which isn't a fault of the documentary. It's probably just, as you said, meant for a crowd who is new to the idea, and you can't just like drop somebody mid-documentary and say, so this is everything we know. But I think they could have summed it up maybe quicker, potentially. But episode 2 is really the strongest episode in this bunch, because it really just connects all these stories. And that's when you start seeing the bigger picture of like what this is. And Letterboxd has some great reviews right now of this, because like at least 5 different people I saw, they were like, I did not have the Zodiac being a child molester on my bingo card for 2024. Like, allegedly, because Arthur Lee Allen allegedly is the
Everything's
Zodiac
alleged but that guy. So
there are actual crimes that he did commit in this that they explain in this documentary, and seeing just how people were easy to dismiss those too, certain people, and that it was, you know, just swept under the rug. And you can see all the similarities between him and the Zodiac Killer. If anything, even if this wasn't a Zodiac documentary, the story about what happened in his town with that family is still very interesting. There were little things that I picked up on my second watch that I didn't really think about, like the narration of the actual Zodiac, like how that has to be performed in a certain way. And there's different ways to like voice that letter to make it sound more menacing.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. It just sounded so
right.
so
Like
good.
you think of it like, oh, this is the Zodiac speaking, and it's like, no, he didn't narrate these letters. They were just letters. That's where directing comes into play, of like how they directed this documentary and how they formed the story.
Because documentaries are supposed to be objective and about truth.
This isn't like a major spoiler because we don't know if he is, but allegedly he confessed to one person that he is the Zodiac, but immediate phone call to the police, and they were like, yeah, there's nothing we could do, that's hearsay.
Favorite actor? I always love saying it. There's always one person in a documentary I don't like, because they're beating themselves. That so feels weird to.
I'll tell you who I did hate in this documentary, and I can say it because they're not alive. The mother.
That bitch.
Liz was getting upset because she used to work as a social worker.
Yeah.
And she's seen these types of cases before. And she's like, she couldn't understand how this mother is standing by him and continuing to let things go on after most likely knowing what happened. That's the person that upset me the most in this.
Yeah,
aside from the Zodiac.
Definitely. You speak about the excitement. Human beings love solving things, right? There's the famous theory of, you know, if you put a box or something that's closed in a movie, people just want to know what's inside it. Like, and I think not knowing who the Zodiac Killer is definitely.
Oh yeah, when the second episode ended and he was like, and then there was this box that she said not to open until she dies. I was like, what's in the box?
They did it to us too, which is crazy. Like, because if you're a writer, that's exactly what you do. So I just think I forget who it is, but the reporter who went out and did surf. You can see the
Robert Graysmith.
Robert Grace. It's like, as a reporter, your natural instinct is you want to uncover things.
But he wasn't even a reporter. You remember that, right?
He was the cartoonist.
He was a cartoonist.
Still,
he just really loved.
He worked at a newspaper.
He loved puzzles.
Yeah, exactly. You want to solve something, and human beings naturally want to make order where there's chaos. And the Zodiac case is, again, for all the wrong reasons, a fascinating case in the criminal justice system. A fascinating case from a human story perspective, serial killer, like whatever. It's fascinating, and it stirs in, I think, everyone this obsession with wanting to know. It is interesting, again, because it's so horrible. And I'm not trying to, because like I think the danger with this, like you end up glorifying some of these things, not the intention.
Yeah, this is, you know, Manson, Dahmer. This is all the same thing. The only thing that stands out about this is that no one to this day, and I love the Ted Cruz drop in there. Yeah, they still snuck it in there. It was like, there was a time where people thought Ted Cruz was the Zodiac Killer.
6 years old. Anyway, I got nothing else. Final thoughts?
Yeah, let's go. I'll go first this time.
Sure.
You've been going first for a while.
That's okay.
Yeah. So, it's also worth noting before I hop into my review that there are still 2 ciphers that are still not decipherable yet, that even with supercomputers they haven't figured out what they mean yet. So still cliffhanger. So this
insane, by the way.
Yeah, like how no one has been able to figure
after
it out.
There's another documentary I need you to watch that made me cry, and it's ridiculous when I tell you what we'll talk more about it.
Okay. I'm on a cliffhanger.
You're on a
myself.
cliffhanger.
All right, so this is the Zodiac speaking. For some reason, weird title, seems longer than it actually is. That might not be a critique of the movie, but just worth noting. This is a really interesting documentary. It's a breeze to get through. When I saw that they're about 40 minutes ish each, they really didn't feel like it, except for episode 1. Episode 1 kind of is just a rehash, a grounding of the story. For someone like myself and JP, we've heard the story many a time, so maybe that's why the first episode really didn't feel as interesting, but I also think it's just disconnected from the story as a whole. I think maybe if episode 1 was shortened and combined into episode 2, I think it would have been a stronger one. So I think just a shorter story in general would have been great, but a lot of new information that is so interesting. In terms of a documentary, they really do paint a really good picture around Arthur Lee Allen. They allow you to have your own thoughts about it because they do present all the facts and opinions around what had happened, all the circumstances, and they also do tell you, like, yeah, it is possible that it wasn't him. There are other suspects, but again, this wasn't about him being the Zodiac necessarily, but his part in that story, that he was there at those locations. He had all the same outfits, and he had the paraphernalia, and there are things that put him exactly right there. Interviews with people where he quoted things that the Zodiac said before they were even known to the public. So a lot of crazy things. I think if you're into true crime thrillers and stories, I've never been one of those people that watches those shows, but this is the one where I was like, I can see why people watch those shows, because this is just so interesting, so intriguing, and that is the major reason that I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5.
You could easily just rest on the laurels of it's just an interesting case and not try, but this, I think they're trying really hard. And I'm going to try to look at this as if I've never heard of the Zodiac Killer before. And I think if I've never heard of the Zodiac Killer, the first episode, though maybe not perfect, does a very good job of bringing someone who's never heard of it. They get you up to speed. They get you there. Not the best way, but they get you there. And I think that's how I'm going to look at it, simply because I really want to look at it outside of the Zodiac Killer story, which is, again, very interesting. They still have to present it to you, and they do a great job. And it's... I mean, you're going to want to watch all the episodes. You know, this is one, I don't like binging too much. I'm not a big fan of binging shows. This is a show that I wanted to binge. Felt more like a movie than it was a series. But I did like that they broke it up in parts. I thought that was very smart. Had this been a full-length movie, I think I'd give it a 4. Like, if they did one straight documentary. But I actually like that they broke it up. And because they broke it up, I'm giving it a 5. That being said, this has been another episode of Take 303. Thanks so much for watching. This was episode 94, which means we have 5 more movies to watch. Wait, 94, 95, 96, 97, 99?
Yeah, you're right.
100, yeah. And one more for the Oscars. So 5 more movies, but there's so many good movies coming out. We're not going to get to them all. I just can't wait to go to the movie theater again and not have to record a podcast.
It's coming.
It's coming soon. You can follow us on 4way_media, take.303. on Instagram, and if you're watching YouTube, hit that like, subscribe button, do whatever you gotta do. I mean, we're telling you it's coming to an end, so I guess if you want to subscribe, now would be an awkward time to do it. But we said we might do a yearly Oscars and post it there, because where else are we gonna post it? This week's question of the week is very simple. When did you first hear about the Zodiac Killer? And this week's poll question of the week is, did he do it? Did he not do it? Is it
Arthur Lee Allen, yes or no?
Arthur Lee Allen, yes or no? That's about it. Catch us next time we watch some other bullshit. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I think that's how we should have always ended it.
Yeah, I can't believe